Hi, creative community. Today, I'm going to talk about some additional things that people tend to say when they go to declutter. So, in the Northern Hemisphere, we are right at the beginning of spring, and it's so exciting. There's spring renewal. This is a perfect time that we begin to look at our cycles of behaviors, ways of thinking, as well as physical clutter. And we tend to say similar things when we start the decluttering process. And I'm going to get into that. And I'm also going to share some ways that we can move forward if we are feeling a bit stuck in terms of decluttering. So, if you're new to me and this channel, my name is Michele Tracy Berger. I am an award-winning creative writer and creativity coach, and I coach at the Creative Tickle. And my practice is all about bringing, expertise to you that is fun and accessible, drawing on both science and spirit. So, two wisdom traditions. So, clutter, and I said this in the last video, is really important to have this in our framework. Clutter is the physical manifestation of unmade decisions fueled by procrastination. And that is by Coach Christine Scalise. That quote is from her. And I think that's just such a powerful thing for us to keep in mind. So if you look around your room now, any room that you're in, it could be your bedroom, could be your office, could be your living room, there are most likely some items that you could declutter and that you probably have wanted to declutter. So, what are the things that we tend to say as we start that process? So, we often say, I don't have the time right now. And that is something that we will say about many things in our life. We don't have the time. So if you want to declutter and you feel sort of frustrated about that, you got to lower the threshold of action. You got to make it a smaller, manageable process. Most of us, when we start to declutter, depending on our history and our background, we usually take on way too much, and then we get super frustrated and we get bored and we get annoyed, and then we stop somewhere in the process. And then we often are walking around with kind of half decluttered rooms. So we want to avoid that. One thing to do is to make it very bite size. So a timer is very helpful, starting with a small space. So it could be looking at, if you are a writer or a visual artist, where you keep your pens. If you are a painter, your paint jar, your jar of brushes, right? Something really manageable. So if you just start there, I guarantee you, if you have a pen jar like I do, there are going to be pens in there that don't work. So you could just take 10 minutes, go through that, check out your pens or your markers or your brushes, what works, give away, throw away, recycle, what doesn't. 15 minutes, half hour, and boom, you've got something. And so part of it is like you want to build on momentum. And I'll talk a little bit more about that with the declutter challenge for creative people that I am sharing with you later on. Another thing that people say is like, I feel, if they look at an item, they've had it for a while, they'll feel guilty about getting rid of it. Now, in the last video, I talked about when we're holding on to things that were given to us that really don't resonate with us. So if you're feeling guilty about getting rid of something, maybe it's something that you bought a while ago, someone else bought, you have to say, does this item hold the energy for me of the self that I am now or that I want to become? And so for those of you who are creative professionals or aspiring creatives, you're usually trying to work on something really important. It could be your next novel, your next play, a memoir, a series of paintings. And to, get us to the next level, just energetically, I find that, we have to be able to let go of things, and letting go of things creates this kind of larger vacuum, we might say, that allows us to be more intentional about what we are trying to bring into our lives. So we have to say, is my guilt greater than the transformation that I want to go to, right? And you might want to journal on that idea, right? So if guilt is the emotion, that often usually means we're doing a bit of people pleasing that we don't even realize we're doing. So you journal on that, and that can usually get us to the next stage to take action. Another thing that people will say when they start this process is that they don't know where to start or they feel overwhelmed. And again, we want to lower the threshold of action. And I mean lower it all the way to the floor and then into the basement. So take the tiniest micro movement, the tiniest micro action. And if we take that action one day and we take another micro action the next day, usually we can get to a place where um, over time we're making significant process. It's just progress. It's just like, as we're wanting to, those of us who have built up a routine around working out, we didn't start out going to the stair climber on level 12. Usually we don't start out that way because that doesn't, that one, it can injure us and really demotivate us because we might be able to stay on that for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but then we're not going to want to do anything else, right? So we want consistent, actionable kinds of steps when we're talking about decluttering. So you want to start out, timers are good, accountability buddies are good. So, if you don't know where to start, calling up a friend and say, hey, let's declutter our kitchen drawer together, right? Let's declutter the magnets on the refrigerator. Like you can have so much fun with this. Another thing that people tend to say is, I never get anywhere, right? So they they start the process, but they don't finish. And so, part of what we want to do then is say, okay, what is your goal, right? Is your goal and your intention just to have a bit more spaciousness in your environment, or are you doing really a deep dive? Because if you just want some spaciousness in your environment, my decluttered challenge that I'll talk a little bit about, all you need is an hour a day, pretty much for over 9 days or a period of time, and you're going to see significant change because it's not just about physical clutter, it's about inner transformation. So sometimes it's about kind of layering what the effects are, right? So if you feel like you never get anywhere, it might be that you don't have a process. And the process that I have is Feng Shui inspired, and Feng Shui comes out of the Chinese philosophy of the art of placement. And it's a very powerful process. And you're not trying to do everything. You're working with getting rid of, letting go, transferring 27 items over 9 days. And there's a reason why that's a very powerful practice, which you can find out a little bit more about. So if you never feel like you're never getting anywhere, you probably need a more bounded container, a more bounded process that will be supportive to you. Another one that people will say, well, I'm just not motivated, right? So if you are, and this declutter challenge I have coming up is really for people who see themselves as creatives, who are working on big creative dreams. If you're not motivated, I guarantee you that there's some other stagnation in your environment, because creative people often feel physical clutter in such dramatic ways because they're dealing with that. And they're dealing often with high degrees of emotional clutter, dealing with inner critics, perfectionism, procrastination, and deep-rooted patterns. So not feeling motivated is usually often not feeling motivated if you're really at a high level of clutter. You're feeling blocked in a number of ways. So this very easy practice, again, taking smaller steps, can connect you with feeling that you're more in the flow, that you're making progress. And that can kind of free up kind of that more vitality, that creative mojo that we need in order to fuel our creative dreams. So, you want to look at in your environment and see, do you have these repetitive thoughts when you look at that? And I think it's really important because when we come into any environment, where our eyes fall in terms of as we're looking at things becomes kind of an issue, because if you go in your environment and it's cluttered, you're always thinking, I should be doing this. Oh, that electrical outlet needs to be fixed. those stacks of books that, I thought I was going to give to the library, I haven't given, or, for their book sale. Your mind is not calm, right? So we want to walk into a room ideally, and where our eyes fall, there's beauty, there's intentionality. There's not this kind of hectic, always hectic sense of clutter. So if you're saying, you don't have time right now, you feel guilty about getting rid of things, you don't know where to start, you never get anywhere, and you're not motivated, and you want to, kind of free up that energy, and you're feeling, as a creative person, you're feeling stagnant and stuck, like you're doing affirmations, you're doing your vision board, but nothing seems to be moving, then you want to create a process for yourself that works. So whether it's micro movements, using a timer, getting an accountability buddy, and you may find that checking out my declutter challenge for creative people is just the thing that you need. And it's fun, it's manageable, it's doable. And if you sign up before or by April 12th, you're going to be able to get a live call with me. And also, you're going to have access to a bonus conversation with myself and an expert on the relationship between trauma and clutter. And I will say, I was really called to do this work. So most people know me. I'm as a as a writer and a coach, and I typically have specialized in working with writers around issues of perfectionism and procrastination. But I felt really called last year to share this process that I had been doing in my own life and seeing amazing benefits, because it's fun, it's manageable, it is has more of a sense of interconnectedness. It's not just about the physical clutter, it's also about inner transformation. And so it's a bit different than the other work that I've done. And people have really enjoyed that work, and I felt really called to share it again this year in its new updated format. So all of that information is below, and I'd love for you to like this and or subscribe to my channel. I also have a link below if you're not in my creative community. So if you're not on my monthly newsletter, I love supporting writers and creatives, and I give away a lot of wonderful resources about where to submit your work, how to submit your work, opportunities for submitting your work, and other ways to keep you motivated and engaged in your creative pursuits. That's all for now. Hope to see you sometime soon in my decluttering challenge.